Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! With this question, you just need to know the names of 3D shapes. This one is called a cylinder. So we can write the factors of 6 by working out two numbers that multiply together to make 6. So 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So 1, 2, 3 and 6 are all the factors of 6. The only number that is in our list is the 2. For this question, it's really important that we understand what the words sum and product mean. Now, sum just means add, and product just means times. So we're going to start by adding the 5 and the 4. So that will equal 9. And then what we're going to do is find the product of 9 and 7. So we're going to multiply them together. 9 times 7, which is 63. So our answer is 63. So this person's at Ashcook at 2017. So they're going to have missed this train here. And they're going to have missed this train here. So those are off. But they will be in time for this train here. And we're looking for the time it hits rise down. So it will get to flute at 2052, and then rise down will be at 2124. So with this question, we need to first of all count how many sides this polygon has. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 sides. And we just need to know that a 10-sided shape is a decagon. Now we are expected to know all of the names of shapes between 3 and 10 sides. So if you don't know them already, just sit down and learn them. So we're just going to start by writing the number a little bit bigger. So it says to 2 decimal places. So we're going to draw a line after the second decimal place. Now all the numbers to the right are going to disappear. They're going to turn to 0, and because it's a decimal, that just means we get rid of them. But we have to look at this number first. Now if this number is less than 5, we just keep the number to the left, so 8.17. But if it's 5 or more, then this 7 goes up to an 8. So this will be 8.18. So if we just add the amount of sides each of these shapes has, a triangle has 3 sides, quadrilateral 4, pentagon 5, hexagon 6. And notice what's happening with the number of edges. They're multiplied by 3. Each time they're multiplied by 3. So all we need to do is get the 15, multiply it by 3, which will be 45. So there will be 45 edges. So 55% is the same as 55 over 100. And what I can do is I can divide top of the fraction by 5. And so that is going to equal 11 over 20. Now in total there are 20 squares here because there's 5 across and 4 down. 5 times 4 is 20. And if there's 20 squares and we're looking to shade in 11 20ths, it's just going to be 11 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're going to start by writing 5 over 9 as a decimal. And to do that, we just need to do 5 divided by 9. Which will be 0.5 recurring. And to convert between a decimal and a percentage, we just times by 100. So we're going to get that 0.5 recurring, and we're going to times it by 100, and that will equal 55.5 555 recurring. And to the nearest percent, that's going to be 56, because that 5 will move that 5 up by 1. So the key says that a circle represents 8 DVDs, and we're told that on Thursday there are 18 DVDs. So we need to rewrite 18 in kind of lots of 8. So that will be an 8 plus 8, which is 16, plus a 2. So we know it will be 2 full circles. So let's get those 2 full circles in. And that will represent 16. But how do we represent 2? Well, if you think about it, if we cut this up into quarters, each quarter will represent 2. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. So we just need another quarter. And so that would be 8 for the first one, 8 for the second one, and then this little quarter will represent 2, which altogether is 18. So we're going to track the amount of eggs to make the amount of, or to make each amount of omelette. So 5 eggs makes 17 omelettes. And we're just going to find out how much is required, how many eggs is required to make 1 omelette. So we divide that by 17, divide both sides by 17. And so 1 omelette would be 0.294 blah 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 eggs. Next we want to see how many for 67 omelettes. And to get to 67 from 1 times 67, so do that to the amount of eggs, and we get 19.705 blah blah blah. Now you can't get 0.705 of an egg. We always round with eggs, and we always round upwards, because if you need 19.7, 19 won't be enough, so we need to pick 20 eggs. So to find the probability, we're going to do the successful outcomes divided by the total number of outcomes. So looking at this question, it says number of times it should land on a 1, so that would be 1 over the total amount, which is 11. So the chance of us getting a 1 is 1 over 11. To find the expected amount, we do the probability and we times it by the amount of trials. So it says it's spun 60 times, so we're going to times it by 60. And that will give us the answer of 5.454 blah blah blah. Now it can't have landed on a 1 5.4 times, so it's definitely, well, this probability, we always round down, so never ever round up, because it's 5 times and then a little bit extra, and so only when it gets to 6 can we say that it's 6 times. So the answer to this is just 5. So what this means is that the width is between 1 and 2. So we're going to look at our list and see all the widths that are between 1 and 2. This bit here means it can equal 1. This bit here means that 2 would go to the next group. So we've got 1, 2, 3 numbers that are between 1 and 2. So the frequency will be 3. This next group says between 2 and 3. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we've got between 3 and 4, just this one here. And then between 4 and 5 we have just the 1. First of all, we're going to work out what angle BCA is. And the way of working this out is it's going to be the same as what BAC is, because the angles in an isosceles, the bottom 2 angles in an isosceles, when it's pointed up, are equal. So this is also going to be 15x. Make sure you state the reason. So it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, so if this is also 15x, we know that angles BAC plus ACB plus ABC, so basically all 3 of the angles in the triangle, are going to add up to 180. So 15x plus 15x plus 30x is going to equal 180 because it's angles in a triangle. Get my lines in, my tram lines in. 15x plus 15x plus 30x, well 15 plus 15 is 30, 30 plus 30 is 60, so it's going to be 60x equals 180. Then we're going to divide both sides by 60, and we have x equals 3. So the answer will be 3. First thing we need to do is work out the area of the wall, and so to do that we're just going to multiply the 44 by the 40. So 44 times 40 is 1,760. And next thing we notice is that each tin covers 10 meters squared. So it actually means we can work out the fact that there are 1,760 meters squared in total for our wall. And if each tin covers 10 meters squared, then we will need 176 tins. That's the amount of tins we need. And each tin costs £5.70, so it'd be 176 times the 5.7, or yeah, £5.70, or you could do it as 570 pence and convert it at the end. And that gives us a price of 1,003.2. And so as money, that would be £1,003.20. Mode just means the most common or most frequent, and modal is exactly the same. It's just the most frequent amount of coins we're looking for. So the students who had 3 coins in their pockets came up 15 times. Students had 4 coins in their pocket, well there were 16 of them. There were 15 students who had 5 coins, 17 students who had 6 coins, and 12 students who had 7 coins. So the most frequent amount of coins a student has in their pocket will be 6, because it happens 17 times, which is more than any other amount of coins. There are a number of different ways of working out this question. You can find out the amount of tissues per penny. You can work out the amount of, or the price of one tissue, or you can get all the amount of tissues into the same amount. I'm going to find out the price per one tissue, and we're going to start off with the 24. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert the money into pence, just to mean that we don't have as much decimal. And we're going to do 807. I'm going to divide by the 24 to find out the price of one tissue. So that is 33.625. And so I'm just going to round that to 33.63. I'm just going to round everything to 2 decimal places, which it says in the question. Next one, we're going to do the 20 soft tissues. So this time I'm going to do 683 divided by 20. When I put that into the calculator, you get 34.15, so that's already 2 decimal places. And then finally we're going to do the 15 soft tissues. So we're going to do the 623 divided by 15 to find the price per tissue. It should be 41.533 blah blah blah, and rounded would be 41.53. So if you buy 15 tissues, it will cost 41 pence. 20 tissues, it will be 34 pence per tissue, but 24 tissues will be 33.63. So that's by far the cheapest. The best value is the 24 tissues box. Now, there's such thing as buying in bulk. Generally, the more you buy of something, the cheaper it is. Don't rely on that. Both in the GCSE, both in the exam, and in real life. Sometimes in real life, if you buy more of an item, actually per tissue, sometimes it becomes more expensive, especially if there's a special offer on the smaller box. So you do need to know the parts of a circle. So the full distance around the circle is called the circumference. If you've got a little bit of it, it's an arc. If you've got a line across it, that would be a chord. And the part that's kind of trapped in there is called a segment. Then if you've got a line across the circle going through the center, that's a diameter. If you've got a line just going to the centre, if I can draw it properly, then that's called a radius. If you've got a line that touches the circle just on one point, like that, that's a tangent. But in this case, we have a sector. A side elevation is the view you'd get if you were standing at the side of a shape. So I'm standing here, and it's the view I'll get. Well, it would be this trapezium here. And to know which side is the side and which one's the front, well, the front is always going to be labelled. They do normally label the sides as well for you. So we're going to draw this trapezium. So the top bit is 3, then it's 6, then it's 8. So I'm just going to start off with the bottom, actually. That might be easier. And draw the 8 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I'm going to do the 6 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like I left just enough room. Then I'm going to do the 3 across. 1, 2, 3. And then all I need to do is just join up the start and the finish to complete the trapezium. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table. So it'd be 10, 20, 30. And 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time. And all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. So firstly, we're going to work out what the percentage increases are as a multiplier. So we start off with 100%. Jane has a 1.2% interest pay rise, sorry, and so that would be 101.2%, and we divide that by 100 to make it a multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.012. So we get the 20,000 times it by 1.012, and that gives us 240. Next we do the same for Lenny, so that is Jane. And so let's do Lenny. And so that's 100% plus the 1.5% will be 101.5%. Make that a multiplier, 101.5%. We divide that by 100, which gives us 1.015. And then finally what we do is we get the 17,000 times it by the multiplier. And when we do that, we get 255. So Lenny has 255, Jane has 240. So it says which of the employers has a larger pay increase and by how much. So the answer will be Lenny, and it's by £15 because that's the difference between these. All probabilities have to add up to 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away these probabilities away from 1. So we're going to do 1 take away 0.09 plus 0.13 plus 0.18. And so that's going to be 0.4. 1 take away 0.4 is 0.6. In this question we've got euros and we've got pounds. And we're told that £1 is 2.23 euros. And we're trying to get to understand what 2,676 euros is in pounds. And we're going to do that by finding out what €1 is and then finding out how much 2,676 are. So to get from 2.23 to 1, we divide by 2.23. And we're going to do that on both sides. And when we do that, we get 0.448 blah blah blah. And then to get from 1 to 2,676, we go times by 2,676 on both sides. And when we do that, we get £1,200. So €2,676 is £1,200. The first piece of information I'm going to focus on is the fact Denver gets 8/19. Denver gets 8/19. That means that Engel and Fido together must get 11/19 because they have to add up to 1. So we're only looking at 11/19. I'm going to focus on the ratio next of Engel to Fido. So it's 9 to 5. And let's have a look and see, well, first of all, how many parts there are all together. So 9 plus 5, which is 14 parts. So there are 14 parts in total, and the share that they get is 11/19. So what I'm going to do is find out what fraction one of those parts is worth by dividing 11/19 by 14. So each part is worth, and I'm just going to keep this into my calculator, 0.041 blah blah blah. And we're asked to find Fido's share. Well, Fido has 5 parts. So Fido has 5 parts, each of them worth 0.041 blah blah blah. I've kept it in my calculator to keep the accuracy. And when I do that, I get 0.206 blah blah blah. Now we're asked to work it out as a percent, so I'm just going to times that by 100. So we have 20.676 blah 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 percent, and it wants it rounded to the nearest percent, so that would be 20%. Or actually, it would be 21% because this would round it up, so 21%. The most important first thing that we do is whenever you square something, you times it by itself. So we're going to rewrite this as x minus 15 times x minus 15. And then the way we approach this is exactly the same as we've done with the other ones. We're going to do a multiplication grid. And we're going to do x minus 15 at the top, x minus 15 at the bottom. Then we're going to do x times x, which is x squared, x times minus 15, which is minus 15x. Same again here. And then we've got a minus times a minus, which is a positive 225. Put all the terms together. Now you can see here that we've got the x terms here that will add together. So that would become minus 30x plus 225, and that's actually our answer. So it's x squared minus 30x plus 225. Any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So it doesn't matter if it's a number or a letter, it's always going to equal to 1. We know that when you multiply powers with the same base, and here we've got all these as base v, you add the powers. So we're actually looking at what do we add to 11, which is this one here, to get to the 15. 11 plus 4 is 15. So w therefore equals 4. To find out what the value of x is, we first of all have to find out what the value of y is. And we can notice that we've got two sets of parallel lines here, and a line going through them. And we kind of got these f angles, which we have to call corresponding angles. So we know that 2y minus 50 is equal to 78. And we must write down the reason. So corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are equal. Now here we've got an equation and we want to solve it. So we get our lines in. We go first of all add 50 to both sides. So we've got 2y equals 78 plus 50, which would be 128. And then we're going to halve both sides, or divide by 2. So we've got 64. So we know that y is 64. And so we look back at the diagram to find out how we'd work out x. Well, what we can do, there's a few different things we can do. We could work out the fact that these two here are vertically opposite. That would be absolutely fine. But actually, if we look at this part here and this part here, these are also two parallel lines. And we've got this angle here and this angle are going to be alternate. So I can write that down here. So angle ECB is equal to 78 degrees. So this will be 78 degrees. And the reason for that is alternate angles. And then finally, if we know this is 78 and we know that this is 64, because we know what y is, then we can work out what x is. So x equals 180, angles in a triangle, take away the 78 we know and the 64 we know. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And just make sure you write down all the reasons as you go. And when we take away the 78 and the 64 from 180, you get 38. So x is therefore 38 degrees. The first thing we need to do is work out the area of the floor. And you'll notice that this is a trapezium. So with a trapezium, the formula is half a plus b times h. And a and b are the parallel sides. So these ones are the parallel sides. And the height is the one connecting the two bases, the two parallel sides. So we're going to start off by writing down the formula. So it'd be half a plus b h. So half times 2.8 plus 1.2 times 11. And when we do that, we get 22. So the area of the floor is 22 meters squared. And it says here that the tiles are sold in packs which cover 3 meters squared. So if each pack covers 3 meters squared, we're going to do 22 divided by 3, which will be 7.33 packs that we need. Now obviously you can't get 0.3 of a pack or 0.33 of a pack. So we're going to have to get 8 packs and just have some left over. So we'll need 8 packs in total. Okay, the next thing we look at is the fact that the Jenny has a 25% discount. So we need to find out what 25% discount would do to the £18.60 for the tiles, or for the pack of tiles. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get the £18.60 and we're going to times it by 0.75. So we're just going to find 3/4 of it because she has a 25% discount, and that would be 1,395. So that's the tiles are going to cost £13.95. Now I've done this in pence and I've kind of muddled it together here, so really let's just go back because I've kind of done this in pence. So that would be 1,860 times 0.75, and so each pack will cost 1,395, and the reason we're doing this in pence is the answer needs to be given in pence, so I might as well just make that conversion now. And so it's going to be 8 lots of the 1,395 pence packs, which will cost in total 11,160 pence, or £111.60. But Jenny has £100 to spend, and we're asked how much extra does she need. So we're going to do the 11,160, take away the 10,000 pence that she has, which will give us 1,160 pence. So she needs to find £11.60 or 1,160 pence from somewhere. So the first thing we need to do is work out the mean for the data in the table. So to start off doing that, we're going to work out the midpoint of each group. So we've got 80 to 85, and to find the midpoint, you add the 80 and the 85 together, then you divide by 2. So this will be 82.5, then 87.5, then 92.5, then 97.5, and then finally 100 plus 105 divided by 2 is 102.5. Next we need to find the FT, which is just the frequency times the duration of calls. Now, in this first group, we're not timesing it by 80 to 85 or anything like that. We're timesing it by the midpoint. So our midpoint effectively becomes the T. So we're going to do 15 times that, which will be 1237.5. And we're just going to keep going and multiplying each of these together. And then finally 2050. Right, next we need to add up the frequencies and add up the FTs. So we're going to have the sum of the frequencies. So I'm just adding all this column up, and that will be 80. And we have sum of the FT. And so we're going to just add this column up here. And so that would be 7,450. So what this column represents is all the numbers added up together. This column represents how many numbers we have. So to find the mean, it's all of the numbers added together, which will be 7,450, over the amount of numbers we have, which is 80. So when you do that, we get 93.125. Now this question is about the improvement that we've made, or that the manager has made, the call centre's made. So we're looking at subtracting the 93.125 away from the last week, which was 105. So we're looking for improvement. And we're going to do 105, take away the 93.125. And that's going to be 11.875. Now it does ask for 2 decimal places, so that will be 11.88. There's an awful lot going on in this question. Whenever there's an awful lot going on, it's always best to draw a diagram. So we're going to start off at Chelton, which is a C. Then we go to Bolko, that's where we're going. And we go through Devley on the way, so we'll do D there. Distance from Chelton to Devley is 34 miles. Distance from Devley to Bovlow is 16 miles. So I'm just reading through the question, adding it to my diagram. David leaves Chelton at 9 o'clock. He drives from Chelton to Devley an average speed of 68 miles per hour. And what speed does David travel between Devley and Bolko to arrive at 9:45? So the whole duration of this, the whole thing needs to be 45 minutes, or 0.75 hours. And the entire distance is 34 plus 16, so that would be 50 miles. Okay, now having a look at this, we need to find out what time David was at Devley. So we're going to use our speed, distance, time triangle. So speed equals distance over time. And we're covering up the time, because that's the one we want. So it's going to be time equals distance, which is 34, over speed, which is 68. So we're going to do 34 divided by 68, which is 0.5. So it would be 0.5 hours. So that would be half an hour. So we will be at Devley at 9:30. So that means we've got 15 minutes left. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes to travel the 16 miles. So this time we're looking for the speed. Okay, so it would be speed equals the distance, which is 16 miles, over time, which is 15 minutes, but we need that in hours, so that'd be 0.25 hours. And so what we can do here is times top 1 by 4 to get rid of the fraction. So it becomes 64 over 1, or just 64 miles per hour. So our answer is 64 miles per hour. The first thing to notice is that the tree must be closer to CD than AB. So if we draw a line across the middle, it can't be in the top bit because that would be closer to line AB. The second piece of information that is given to us is it must be at least 11 meters away from point C. So we get our compass out and measure 11 centimeters, or whatever the scale we're using in this diagram is, and we draw a quarter circle from C. And it says shade the region that it can be planted. So this is the region that represents closer to line CD than AB, but also not within 11 meters of point C. So factorise means to put it into a bracket, and it looks like it's a quadratic here, but it's actually just a linear factorising because we don't have a number term. So we're going to just use one bracket for this. And looking at these terms, I'm going to focus first on the numbers. So 20 and 30, I can divide both of those by 10, and that will leave 2 and 3. So that's the numbers done. Next, I'm looking at the t terms. So we've got t squared there and a t there. So we can divide out a t, but that will leave a t on the first term. And finally, I'm going to look at the u, and there's just a u on both of them. I can factorise out, and actually that just leaves nothing on the inside of the bracket. Now, always when you do this, expand the bracket to check if you've made any mistakes. So I'm going to do smiles and rainbows. There's loads of different methods. So 10 times 2 is 20, t times t is t squared, and then the u, plus 10 times 3 is 30, times t times u. So we know we've got the right answer. So our answer is 10tu brackets 2t plus 3. To answer this question, we need to know what an equation, expression, formula, and identity is. So the formula is basically an equation but for real world things. So area equals pi r squared. It's where the letters actually mean something. Expression is just algebra without the equal sign, so 5x plus 3 would be an expression. An equation has an equals, and it can be solved, so you can find out what x is or find out what a is. And an identity is true for all values of that letter. So an example would be x times x equals x squared. That's an identity because that's true for all values of x. So looking here, on the right-hand side, we've got 3x plus 2x. But if we imagine x is 10, so 3x would be 30 plus 2x would be 20, 30 plus 20, well, that will equal 5x, 5 times 10. And actually, this is true for all values of x. And the reason it's true for all values of x is we know that 3x plus 2x, this right-hand side here, equals 5x. They're the same thing. Now normally with an identity it's shown with 3 lines. Now in the exam, this type of question, it won't be shown with 3 lines because that kind of gives it away that it's an identity. But this question is definitely an identity, And you can't solve it because it's true for all values of x. So yes, x could be 10, x could be a million, x could be a third, x could be anything. To find the exterior angle of any polygon, we do 360 divided by the amount of sides. These are decagons, which means they have 10 sides. So the exterior angles will be 36 degrees. And the exterior angle is just an angle that kind of continues on, you just continue on from the side. So this one here is the exterior angle of the left-hand decagon, and this one here is the exterior angle on the right-hand decagon. So altogether, the angle A will be 36 plus 36, which will be 72. So our answer will be 72 degrees. So here we're asked to factorise a quadratic, and we know it's a quadratic because it's got an x squared term, an x term, and a number term. And what we're going to do is we're going to be, first of all, putting two sets of brackets down with an x at the start of each. And what we're trying to find is what number goes here and what number goes here. So we're going to start by looking at this minus 45. And it's a special number because we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to make that minus 45. We're also going to look at this plus 12 here, because we're looking for two numbers that add together to make that 12. So what we can do is write out the factors of minus 45. And so that's going to be minus 1 and 45, minus 3 and 15, minus 5 and 9, and then the same but the other way around. So 1 and minus 45, 3 and minus 15, and 5 and minus 9. Remember, we're looking for them to add together to make 12. So we look down the list here, which ones add together to make 12. This one here, minus 3 plus 15 is 12. So our answers will be minus 3 and plus 15, or the other way around. So the distance initially travelled is going to be 14 kilometres. For this stint here, and then we have a bit of a rest. A horizontal and distance time graph is essentially stopped, but then here we start up again to go home, and so that's another 14 kilometres travelled. So in total there has been 28 kilometres travelled. The first thing that we can actually work out for this Venn diagram is this part here. So it says 12 had a cat but not a dog. So the cat but not a dog is showed with this A here. So if 12 had a cat but not a dog, and in total 22 had a cat, we're going to do 22 take away 12, which is 10. So 10 had a cat and a dog. If 16 had a dog, and 10 also had a cat, that means that 6 had a dog. Let's make sure we fill these in. And if overall there were 31 people, and there were 12 who just had a cat, 10 who had a cat and a dog, and 6 who had a dog, that leaves 3 left over. So what's happened here is that the company's increased the amount of sweets by 15%. So we're just going to focus on that and work out what the multiplier would be first. So they started off with 100%, and they added 15%, and then therefore they ended up with 115%. And to find that as a multiplier, we get the 115 and divide it by 100, and that gives us 1.15. So that is the multiplier they used. Now, they used that multiplier on the original amount, and they times it by 1.15, and they got the answer of 69. But if we're working the other way to find out what they times by 1.15, we get that 69, and we divide it by the multiplier. So if we want to work out what the original number was, we divide it by the multiplier, and that gives us 60. So the answer will be 60. To find an error interval, what we need to do is find the smallest and largest that a number can be. So I start by just drawing a quick number line, and we put our number in the middle, which is 89.6. Now we're looking to the nearest tenth, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the next number down and the next number up in tenths. So the next number down would be 89.5, the next number up would be 89.7. Now the bounds, the upper and lower bound, the maximum and minimum number it could be before rounding, are going to be at the halfway points. So here and here. And so all we need to do is work out what those numbers are. So halfway between 89.5 and 89.6 is 89.55. And halfway between 89.6 and 89.7 is 89.65. So those are going to be our lower and upper bounds. But how do we show it as an error interval? Well, we put t in the middle because it tells us that t is representing the time, and we show it with inequalities. Now, the number can be 89.55, but it can't be 89.65 because that would round to 89.7. So we say everything that's less than but not equal to. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross section or area of the trapezium times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h and then times the length. Now A and B are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one. And then the H is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10. And that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything, for this, will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question, though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. Whenever we draw a curve, which here we have a reciprocal here, we need to draw lots and lots of coordinates, and then we join them up with a nice smooth curved line. So we're going to do, basically we're going to go up in halves. And 3, right. So we're going to start with -2, and we're going to type that into the calculator using this formula here. So we've got 1 divided by brackets -2 plus 8. When you type that in, you get 7.5. Could do the same thing with -1.5, and you get the answer of 7.3 recurring. Same thing with -1, you get 7, and -0.5, you get 6. Now, when you put 0 in, whenever you have 0 at the bottom of a fraction, you'll just get a maths error. It's basically you can't divide by 0. So that does not exist. That's a positive infinity, negative infinity, or undefined, as mathematicians will call it. It's not technically infinity, it's a long story, but it just can't exist. So let's keep going. So we've got 10 for that, then 1 is 9, then 8.6 recurring, then 2 is 8.5, then 8.4, and then this would be 8.3 recurring, blah blah blah. Okay, now we start plotting this, and this is not going to be easy because the scale is going up in 2s, so 7.5 would be about 3/4 of the way up here. Then we've got 7.3, which would be slightly lower. Then we've got 7, which will be slightly lower. Then we've got 6, which would be a lot lower. Okay, then we've got at 0.5, we've got 10. Then 9. Should be, yeah, be about there. Then 8.6. 8.5. 8.4. It's very difficult to do it from these ones. 8.3. Okay. Now, this 0 here, it kind of tends towards infinity, both positive and negative. On one side it goes towards the positive infinity, on the other side it goes towards the negative infinity. So what is helpful to do when you're drawing this line is to turn your page sideways. And I'm going to try my best here. I can't actually turn this sideways, so we're going to try our best to connect these up. And I've got kind of a weird hand angle going on. And so this is going to go towards negative infinity. This side, you can see it's going down there. And you can see this side here, on the right hand side, is going towards positive infinity. So, like that. Now there's no, there's a lot of leniency. You can see that I've probably gone too far to the left there. And so really what it should be is a little bit less dramatic, maybe more dramatic, I don't know. So I think I've done exactly the same thing, but all of what I've drawn will give you the marks. They are very, very lenient when it comes to this. The big things with this is that this line here can't go to the left of the y-axis for this question, and this line here can't go to the right of the y-axis. Essentially the y-axis, where x is 0, this line here, the left-hand line will never cross the line and the right-hand line will never cross that line. That's where it flips between being negative infinity to positive infinity, kind of. It's a way of visualizing it. And you can see here, the more points you've got, the better. And with reciprocals, really what we want is the points to be between 0.5 and negative 0.5 for this question. So we could do probably another coordinate at a quarter and minus a quarter. Would help us. And yeah, that's how you plot a reciprocal. Okay, so we're going to start off by working out the multiplier, and we're told, we always start off with 100%, we're told that the compound interest rate is 1.6%, so we're going to add 1.6% to the 100%, and it's going to be 101.6%. Okay, make that into a decimal by dividing it by 100. So we're just going to divide that by 100, and this will give us the decimal or the multiplier. So the multiplier is 1.016, and so anytime we want to increase something by 1.6%, we just times it by 1.016. Now, we're told that we start off with 2,400, that's our original amount, and to find out what it's going to be in the savings account at the end of the first year, we just times it by the multiplier, 1.016. But we're told that it's for 7 years that it's going to be in there. So we then times it by 1.016 times, or easier way of doing it is 1.016 to the power of 7. When we do that, we get 2,682.052 blah blah blah. And because it's money, we round to the nearest pence. So 2,682.05. So this question is a simultaneous equations question. And so we're going to have to write down some equations. So it says 2 apples and 3 pears cost £3.80. So 2 apples, I'm going to call it A for the price of an apple, plus 3 pears, so 3p, cost £3.80. Now I'm going to do this as 380 just because it's easier to work with integers rather than decimals. And it says 3 apples, so 3a, plus 8 pears costs £7.80 or 780 pence. Okay, so the first thing I do is try and get these numbers the same. So 3 and 8, they both go into 24, so I need to make them both 24. And what some people do is they just label this A and this B. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to multiply everything in equation A by 8, so that this becomes 24. So it's going to become 8A. And so we're going to times the 2A by 8, which will be 16A plus 24p, and 380 times 8 is 3040. And we're going to do the same with B, but this time we're going to times it by 3, so we're going to have 3b. And we're just going through everything here and we're timesing it by 3. So 9a plus 24p, which is good, that's what we wanted. And 780 times 3 is 2340. So now we've got both of these the same coefficient. What we can do is we can eliminate going downwards. Now, if they are the same, the s in same is the s in subtract. If they were different signs, so if these weren't both positive, if one of them was negative, different, the d in different is the d in add. So here they are the same, so we are going to subtract, and we're going to subtract going downwards. So we're going to start off by doing, and I can just do a little line here to show what we're doing. So we're subtracting going downwards, and we're going to do 16a take away 9a, which will be 7a. 24p take away 24p, which is nothing, which is why we did that, is to eliminate them. And then 3040 take away 2340 will be 700. Then I can put my lines in, and all I need to do now is just divide both sides by 7, and I get A equals 100. So we know that apples cost 100, or £1. We need to work out what pears cost. So I just need to pick one of the equations. I'm just going to pick this top one here, and I'm going to write it out. But instead of A, we know that A is £1 or 100 pence. So plus 3p equals 380. So that's going to be 200 plus 3p is 380. And then again, I'm just going to draw my lines down. And we're going to subtract 200 from both sides. So it's going to be 3p equals 180. And then we're going to just divide by 3 both sides. And we've got p equals 60. So a pear costs 60. Now we can check this by using the other equation there. So 3 times 100 is 300, plus 8 lots of 60 is going to be, what's that, 480? So it's going to be 780. So we know that we've got it right. It's sometimes easier in these questions to view these triangles as 2 separate triangles rather than one triangle. So we're kind of just going to split this triangle off and just move it to the side so we can see what's going on. I'm going to do the same with the smaller triangle and kind of move that to the side. So we can see we've got 2 triangles here. We've got a big triangle and small triangle. And we can label the sides of them as 18. Now this long length would be 20 plus x, 20 centimeters plus x. Then we've got 6 here and we've got x here. Now the 2 triangles are similar because the sides here we assume are, well, we know they are parallel because they are right angles. And they share an angle here, which we can just label as A. And so they are definitely similar, which means that one is an enlargement of the other. So we need the scale factor first. Now if you look at the 6 and the 18, they are what we call corresponding sides. So we need to work out the scale factor by finding out what I multiply the 6 by to get to the 18. Well, that's obviously going to be 3. So we now know that we can times the x by 3 to get to the 20 plus x. So we can write that down. 3x, I'm timesing the x by 3, and that will give me 20 plus x. And so I can solve this now. Subtract x both sides. Always subtract the smaller amount, so 2x equals 20. And then divide both sides by 2. And so we've got x equals 10. So we know that x equals 10, it says find the length x, and so that will be 10. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.